We're online? Yeah, okay then. Right. Welcome everyone to this afternoon's meeting of the Cabinet, and I'll kick off with apologies for absence. Mike.
Leader, we have received apologies from Councillor Michael Payne. He has a conflict of interest on agenda item 6 and will not be attending this meeting.
Thank you. Any others? Declaring interest.
You're looking for me? Looking at me now.
Apologies, yeah, it'll come on in 3. We'll move on to the next item, which is item 2, which is on page 5 to 9. I'll move those minutes as a correct record. They were held on September the 7th. Thank you. Moving on now to declaration of interest. Thank you. Marge.
Thank you, Chair. I am declaring an interest in agenda item 6, a non-pecuniary interest, as I'm an appointed representative on Arnold Parochial Charities and also a friend of the Hobbocks. So,
thank you, Henry.
Can I add to that when I attend Arnold Parochial Charities meetings, I always declare my interest as a member of the council and take no part in their discussions on the item. Thank you.
Thanks, Marge. Henry.
I would like to declare a conflict of interest on item number 6 due to my close association and work with Friends of the Hobbocks. Thank you.
Anyone else? There's no one else declared? Right, we'll move on to item 4, which is the forward plan. That's on page 11 to 18.
Just for noting, Chair.
Okay, any comments? No comments received. Okay, I'll move that recommendation, which is on page 11. Cabinet notes the contents of the draft forward plan, making comments where appropriate. None were given. Thank you. We agree? Agreed, thank you. Moving on to equalities, which is Fran, I believe, which is on page 19, and that's item 5.
Thank you, Chair. I'm pleased to present this report to Cabinet today to update members on the extensive work undertaken by officers and members in relation to the Council's Equality and Diversity Policy, Framework and Action Plan. So members may recall that Cabinet approved the Equality and Diversity Policy and Action Plan in October 2021, following 2 rounds of public consultation. The policy and plan actually run until March 2024, and work is underway to look at the framework and policy for 2024 onwards, and that will be brought to a future meeting. As detailed in the report, there are essentially 2 key groups who are responsible for driving on the policy and framework. The Strategic Equality and Diversity Group is a cross-party group chaired by the portfolio holder for Life Chances and Vulnerability, with support from the Policy Advisor for Equalities, and supported by the Chief Executive and other officers leading on equalities. The group have been meeting since August 2022 and have driven forward the Equality Framework and Action Plan, as well as supporting a number of other equality-related work across the organisation. Details are listed in paragraph 1.3 of the report, but some of the work includes supporting training for members and officers, highlighting issues from residents in relation to equalities, commissioning reviews within service areas in terms of accessibility to services, reviewing census data, and currently the group are looking into the support provided by the council to care leavers. Supporting the strategic group is an officer group and a council-wide equality network of staff volunteers who've put themselves forward to support the improvement in equality and in diversity in council services. The officer group identify training needs, prepare training materials where necessary, consider equality-related complaints and lead initiatives in line with the framework relating to equalities issues such as the use and guidance for staff on pronouns. The framework itself, when it was approved in October 21, contained 70 actions and sub-actions to be delivered by March 2024. This was an ambitious programme and it aligned with the Local Government Association's Framework and Action Plan on Equalities. To date, of those 70 actions, there are only 10 actions and 6 sub-actions outstanding, with the aim of completing those by March 2024. Paragraph 1.7 of the report sets out some of the highlights from that action plan, including training, promotion of the youth and senior councils, customer outreach hubs established across the borough, the procurement of a web chat system, which is shortly going live, and the revision of the equality impact assessment templates and guidance. Highlighted in the report is another piece of work that the strategic group are currently involved in relation to the council's support to care leavers. Whilst not a specific protected characteristics under the Equality Act, further work into how other councils have approached this group is being considered as part of the county-wide partnership strategy for looked after children and care leavers adopted in 2022. The council's current offer in relation to care leavers is outlined in paragraph 1.11 of the report and includes discounts for council tax and leisure. Finally, I'd just like to highlight what a collaborative effort this has been from all staff and members across the organisation. It is an essential piece of work and an ongoing piece of work, but there has been some significant progress in relation to the action plan, which is really positive in the way the organisation is moving. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Comments? Catherine?
Thank you, Leader. I'd just like to say that under our previous roles, Councillor McCrossan and I worked together on the Equalities Framework and Action Plan, and we've since set up the Strategic Equalities and Diversity Group. This strengthens the work that the Council has done on equalities, and one thing that I'd like to highlight is that although Notts County Council has the overall responsibility for care leavers, Gedling has historically supported care leavers between the ages of 16 to 25, with care leavers living alone getting 100% council tax discount and care leavers living with another person receiving a disregard from their council tax. It is important to note the amount of actions that, as Fran has rightly pointed out, that have been completed so far, and only 10 are outstanding. However, we still have more work to do, although a lot has been done. We have got to still achieve the priorities set out in the Strategic Equality and Diversity Group, and we've got equalities objectives in the Gedling Plan ranging from 2023 to 2027. So it just remains for me to thank all our partners that have worked with us, staff that have worked on this, and members and my policy advisor, and also Councillor McCrossan for the work that she's done so far. Thank you.
Thank you. Viv?
Thank you, Leader. Thank you, Councillor Fox, and to all the officers. The work that was put in to start with officers, the collaboration was quite an extensive piece of work, and I can only commend how well that we've done as a partnership. I think it's really important that we continue to ensure our borough is an inclusive, supportive place to live, work and visit. And I think we're on the right track. It's, you know, to say that how many of those actions are now left outstanding, when we started off with such a huge number, I think it's a real credit. So well done to everybody. And we continue to ensure, like I say, that the borough is an inclusive place to be. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Marge?
Thank you, Chair. I'm very pleased that we are not in Birmingham's position, because we took equalities issues seriously when we first came into power in 2011 and made many changes which made quite a few of the women's pay come up into a reasonable rate of pay. So I'm really pleased that we did that then, and that we continue to keep these agenda items high on our own agenda, as can be seen by this row of people here. So, increasing number of women in more highly paid positions within the council. So thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Marge. Can I just ask how, now this is not going to lie and gather dust, is it? How do we keep it, do we take it to scrutiny? How do we look at it? Do we put it down for another year to review it, see where we are, where we need to be?
It is actually it's part of Scrutiny's work plan for in the new year to look at the new framework from 2024 onwards. So no, it certainly this isn't the end. This is just, the policy requires reporting to Cabinet on an annual basis. As outlined in the report, this is the first opportunity we've had because it was adopted in October, and then, sort of getting the group set up and really getting it moving. But there'll be annual reports to Cabinet, and it is part of the Scrutiny work programme as well for the new year.
Just to say also that we did highlight that there was only 10 actions that were outstanding, but equalities and diversity is an ever-moving situation. So we will always be looking to improve and add objectives and priorities to it as we go along. And it is something that we will continually work on. So I welcome it going to scrutiny, and anything that comes from that, any feedback, that's great. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further comment? I didn't see any further comment, so I'll move that. It's on page 19, recommendation, notes of work undertaken on the Equality Diversity Framework and Action Plan, and the wider work undertaken by officers and members to strengthen the Council's approach to equality and diversity in the performance of its functions. Can I have a seconder? Yeah, seconded. We're all in agreement? Thank you very much. Okay, we'll move swiftly on to item 6, and those people that are going to go. Okay, thank you. And we'll move, that's on page 97. I'll move a recommendation. So are there any comments on that? Emma, do you want to come in first? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Leader. So I'm here today to report to Cabinet on the proposed sale of land at Killissick Lane. The Council has a land holding at Killissick Lane of approximately 15 acres. This is adjacent to 2 parcels of land which are privately owned by different entities. The land is also adjacent to the Hobbucks Nature Reserve. All parcels of land have been allocated for housing within the local planning document. The local planning document was adopted in 2018 following an extensive consultation and examination by an independent planning inspector. And at this point, the Killissick Lane site was removed from the Greenbelt. The Council was recently made aware that one of the adjacent landowners had taken the decision to proceed with the disposal of their parcel of land. The Council has therefore reviewed its position to seek to ensure that a comprehensive form of development is achievable. Securing a comprehensive form of development will also create opportunities to enhance the Hobbucks Local Nature Reserve adjoining the site. The Council recently advertised the intention to dispose of the land holding at Killissick Lane. In response to the consultation on the disposal, the Council received 198 written objections relating to the disposal of the site. An online petition was also submitted to the Council, which contained 1,911 signatures. 1,006 of these were from Gedling postcodes. All responses have been carefully considered as part of this consultation process and are addressed within the report. The recurring theme throughout the responses is the impact the sale will have on the environment and on the Hobbucks. There was also a significant concern regarding the local infrastructure and amenities. We have fully addressed these within the report and are satisfied that the majority of these issues raised can be mitigated through the planning process. It is therefore recommended that the Council proceed with the disposal of the land. When disposing of land, the Council rules for dealing with land must be taken into account. In accordance with those rules, it is proposed that the site is disposed of through the open market. The sale will need to be marketed through the use of an agent to generate interest in order to achieve an offer which represents the best consideration that can be obtained for the site. If approval to dispose of the land is granted, the council would seek to enter into a collaboration agreement with the other landowner who has not yet marketed their land. This would allow the land to be sold as one parcel and would ensure best value for the land, and would also help ensure a comprehensive scheme is delivered. It is therefore proposed and recommended that the council agrees to dispose of the land at Killissick Lane through private treaty on the open market as detailed in this report. It also recommends that the delegated authority is given to the Chief Executive in consultation with the leader to accept the best offer for the land. Also to agree in principle to the joint sale of the land with the Arnold Parochial Charities, subject to a collaboration agreement being agreed by both parties. It is also recommended that delegated authority to the Chief Executive, in consultation with the leader of the council and the legal services manager, to prepare and complete the collaboration agreement with the Arnold Parochial Charities to facilitate the joint sale of the land. And finally, it is recommended that the council delegates authority to the Chief Executive, in consultation with the legal services manager, to agree the heads of terms and conditions of sale for the disposal. This recommendation will allow the land to be sold jointly with the neighbouring site to enable the land to come forward for housing as per the local planning document, to allow the site to be developed comprehensively rather than into smaller individual developments which are more likely to have a detrimental impact on the area. Thank you, Leader.
Some other comments, David?
Thank you, Leader, and thank you for the report. This is one of those issues, isn't it, where we have to balance competing interests and competing aspirations. And I appreciate from the responses, both individually and into the petition, that local people don't want to lose an area of unused land. However, the alternative use, which was in the 2018 plan, is for 250 houses, of which 42 or 43 would be affordable houses, which is a significant factor. I think if you look across the country, all local authorities, after 13 years of austerity, are having to review our assets and see how we can realise. I mean, you only see today, Hampshire is in the position of selling off stuff, Birmingham's selling off stuff, Nottingham's having to sell off stuff. And this is one of the few assets we've got which could create a reasonable capital fund so we could do good things with it outside the area. And there's a comment about the green belt. Of course, 71% of Gedling area is green belt. And that's the highest proportion across the whole of the county. So taking these into account, housing, the capital receipts has got a significant bearing to my mind. I would like to ask if we could have a bit more detail on what arrangements are being proposed to enhance and safeguard the hobbocks.
Thank you. Mike, do you want to do that?
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Ellis. In response to your question, there's a planning policy requirement for any new major housing development to provide 10% on-site open space. So by securing a comprehensive form of development, it should be possible to ensure that that open space is provided to the west of the allocation, directly adjacent to the hobbocks. The policy also allows a contribution towards off-site open space works to be provided. So in this particular instance, it may be feasible to have a combination of both on-site public open space on the housing allocation and then to secure an off-site contribution from the developer to be expended on the enhancement of the hobbocks. And that could only reasonably be secured by ensuring that we have a comprehensive form of development across the entire housing allocation.
Thank you. Any more, David?
Thank you for that. Yeah.
Okay, Viv.
Thank you, Leader, and thank you, Emma, for the report. I mean, following on from David, I think should the Cabinet give approval today, Please can you explain, and this is particularly to Mike, the next steps, and in particular, can we be assured that throughout the planning process, that every effort will be made to ensure maximum biodiversity net gain, specifically to ensure, again, thinking about the safeguarding and expansion and improvement to the Hobbucks Nature Reserve? So to you, Mike.
Thank you, Councillor McCrossan. So as I've just outlined in response to Councillor Ellis, that there are opportunities here to secure open space directly adjoining the Hobbucks Local Nature Reserve, and also to seek a contribution to expand on the Hobbucks Local Nature Reserve. In addition, there's an emerging statutory requirement for all development to provide a minimum of 10% biodiversity net gain. There will be some exemptions to this, which are going to be set out in secondary legislation, which I understand is being will be progressed in November. But in terms of this particular development, so a development comprising major development, there is that emerging statutory requirement for the 10% biodiversity net gain to be provided on site or adjoining the site. So confident that there can be some significant enhancements to biodiversity, both on the site and adjoining the site.
Yeah, thank you, Mike. I mean, it's very important for us. I'd hate to say, but it's a shame that it's not for the government currently, but it is very important for us around the biodiversity and the net gain. So thank you.
Thank you. Jenny.
Thank you very much. As the report says, this land was allocated in 2018 and received the unanimous support of councillors at that time. My fear is if we don't sell this piece of land, we'll get a piecemeal development which will not be capable of making any enhancements to the Hobbucks. And whilst I quite understand the sensitivities around that piece of recreation ground, which is actually a recognised nature reserve, which actually was brought in by this administration. My fear is that if we have a piecemeal development, it could be the worst of all worlds, and we won't get that opportunity to make any enhancements. I also realise that there are concerns about infrastructure and education and health, but that again is part of the process, and those negotiations will take place, and monies will be sought for any extra capacity in health or education or highways indeed that we need. So I think the sale of the land is actually the best thing, because it will give us a comprehensive and cohesive development on that site, which will benefit the Hobbucks in the long run. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? No? Mike, can I just ask about we have the 106 agreement, which is it still right it can be spent anywhere? A 106 agreement?
The Section 106 agreement would need to mitigate the impacts of the development, so it would need to be spent adjoining the site or in that immediate locality. So improvements to the Hobbucks to improve biodiversity would be an entirely appropriate use of a Section 106 agreement, having regard to our existing adopted planning policies.
And Mike and Fran, so on the SIL, Community Infrastructure Levy, that the group from the Hobbucks could bid into that?
That's correct, Councillor Clark.
That's right, isn't it?
So this development, any development on the site would be SIL liable. There's no parish council in this area, so it's within the non-parished area. So projects could be put forward by community groups to mitigate the impact of the development. So that could be enhancements in the Hobbucks, for example. As this Cabinet are aware, that process takes place on an annual basis, and the actual allocation of the non-parish funding is determined by Cabinet following a period of public consultation.
Thank you. I know it's a big ask, but I do ask that people, really look at it, because this can be an absolute, similar to the country park, where it can be absolutely excellent. When we came up with the country park, everybody says, "Oh no, we don't like it." I walk my dog there, I do this, that and the other. But I think if you look at it, the facts are that it's an excellent place, and I think the Hobbits could also be that, because there's other land around there. The rugby club, should they choose to get rid of it, should they want to do things, we have some control. And I think at the moment, what you were saying, Jenny, that if three of us, three separate people now, work together with the volunteers at the Hobbits there, then we can come up with something that we can be really proud of. I think failing that, it'll be a bit of a hodgepodge. And then I don't know what, whatever government, whichever government legislation comes in and said you will build there. Well, we've got control of it at the moment. Let us use that strength and that power to improve that area. So are there any further questions? There are no further questions. I'm going to move that on page 97. That's a recommendation. The Cabinet agrees to dispose of land, Kelisic Lane, as shown in the outline plan read on Appendix 1. This is all on the website, isn't it? Okay. Through private treaty on the open market as detailed in this report. Item 2, delegates authority to the Chief Executive in consultation with the Leader of the Council to accept the best offer for the land, and I'll move that. Have a seconder, please. Thank you. We've got a seconder. Sorry?
Over the page.
Oh, sorry, have I missed a bit? I have. That's it. I'll read the other bit so as people who are listening or whatever. 3, agrees in principle to the joint sale of the council's land with the Arnold Parochial Charities adjoining land, subject to a collaboration agreement being agreed by both parties. 4, delegates the authority to the Chief Executive in consultation with the Leader of the Council, the Legal Services Manager, to prepare and complete a collaboration agreement with Arnold Parochial Charities to facilitate the joint sale of the land. And 5, delegates authority to the Chief Executive in consultation with Legal Services Manager to agree heads of terms and conditions of sale for the disposal. And I'll move that. Seconded, and are we agreed? Thank you. And that ends the meeting. Thank you very much.